Welcome to this morning's morning rant. So I'm gonna put a question out, and I want you guys to kind of critically think about this. So um, the question is: are foreign cultures actually more selfish than what we perceive as them being more family oriented? Man, salute to everybody in the chat. So I was thinking this morning, I was just like, man, you know, foreign women I dealt with, and the things I've been able to like do with them, whether it's traveling, whether it's helping financially, the places we eat at, the things you're able to buy, whether let's say clothes, fashion, so many things, right? And you know, I see the pictures, images, guys traveling and you know enjoying their whether it's the woman they're dating or in a relationship with. A lot, most of these women are living a good life. They're able to you know take these photos at these nice hotels, Airbnbs, these nice restaurants, and a lot of foreign women that's able to spend time or be with a man, from a I don't want to say Western, but from a strong economy, whether he's American, from the UK, Canada, or whatever, right? And for a long time, I have um envied how family oriented a lot of these cultures are from, let's say, weaker economies. Because let's keep it 100. We don't see too much of this family oriented culture in strong economies. It's evident all over the world in strong economies. You don't see this strong family dynamic. You only see it in you predominantly see it in weaker economies, right? So, and I was thinking about, my last relationship, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, why wouldn't a family want one of their own to like to live a good life, to have a good life, even if it's without them? Why wouldn't they push why wouldn't they push that person to say, what I mean, have a good life? It's just like when someone when a young man gets an opportunity to go to the league, or get a scholarship at a D1 university, or whatever position that comes about where they're able to change their life. You know, in the US, you see two sides. You see the side where, your parents, they supporting you to like go live your dreams. And then you got people in the hood, you got your peers, that wanna hold you back. They don't want to see you leave. They want to see you, with them. You know, Currently we can use John Morant as an example. He stays, he had issues trying to let go of the streets, and they keep dragging them down. And there's countless stories, people I know, men that pretty much bombed opportunities because of the crab in a, what we call the crab in a barrel. And I see this, and I'm really looking at these foreign cultures differently because I see the same crab in a barrel um culture. It's just in a different way, where the woman these women don't see it, or at least they might not see it until it's too late. And for a while, like I quit, for a while, American culture isn't perfect. There are some things, there are some ways I think, we should get back to. But I started to think about why American culture is selfish. And, you know, it was always looked at for me in a negative way. Like, man, we have a selfish culture. Like, man, like, you know, if, if you needed somewhere to stay or you needed some food, like most people can't really rely on family for, for tough times. you know we're very selfish and things like that, so there is that. And so it's pros and cons to both sides. And so as I'm thinking about foreign women, it's like they'll say, a lot of cultures, they'll say, or they won't directly say it, but they want for you to um include their family when it comes to giving them a great life. So what does that mean? That could mean that if you move her, let's just say if she came to the US, she's not going to be comfortable living a good life knowing that her family isn't enjoying a comparable lifestyle. So deep down, you can't necessarily, well, she has to petition for her family at some point, but the point is that she's going to feel like she's going to feel guilty about living a good life until she's able to get, certain family members, maybe to the US too at some point. Or there's going to be, pressure on a relationship to take care of the family in a way where they will be okay. They could be comfortably okay in their home country. And I talk to foreign chicks about this a lot. I say, well, American culture, we're a little bit more, what you would say, more selfish. And my mom is probably, is very selfless. So selfless is the opposite of being selfish. So my mom always been a selfless person. And just not my mom, just people in my, how we are raised in my culture. I'm just gonna say, as a FBA, and it may apply to other cultures in the United States as well. But I could tell you that most people will attest to that. My mom said she told her kids, my siblings, my brothers and sisters, that I want y'all to have a better life than me. And one thing my mom always said that stuck with me, she said, y'all do not owe me anything. She looked at being a parent as that was she said, y'all gonna have kids one day. She looked at having being a parent was that's what she was supposed to do. That's what she was supposed to do. and you don't get repaid for what you're supposed to do as a parent. You know, in my opinion, I think that's the right. I think that's the right way. I think it's very selfless. You see, you. I mean, there's a lot of successful people. You know, I've heard Tyler Perry talk about it. I've heard billionaires, and I'm not trying to say I'm not trying to pick a side what's right or what's wrong, but you do have millionaires. They may have mansions and stuff like that, and they may have bought their parents a home and stuff like that, but it's definitely not on the same level as them. You know, how much you should do for your parents. That's a personal choice. Even Kobe Bryant, you know, he had friction with his family. You know, and I don't know what type of lifestyle they live compared to his, but um, in general, most parents in America don't have an expectation if their child becomes very successful. Then they don't have too much expectation. Now, my mom, for example, she definitely expect me if you know if I want her to come see me to fly her out and cover all accommodations, which I have no problem doing. I mean, you should definitely um parents shouldn't ever have to dig in their pocket for certain things, but they're not looking to be taken care of. So I'm saying all that to say is that I think looking at it from looking at it from that direction, I think that American culture is more selfless when it comes to their overall when it comes to their children. I think they want to see their children have a better life, and they enjoy seeing their children flourish and have a better life than them. They enjoy that without you know without no jealousy for the most part. You know what I mean? Um, Now foreign cultures, I noticed something different. I don't, from my experience, even when I hear about Africans, for example, I've seen a lot of comments when Africans say, when they in the US, how they get tired of their families like asking them for money and putting this high burden on them, like you supposed to do this and do that. We raised you and stuff like that. And not really understanding the challenges that comes with just supporting yourself and trying to have a comfortable life in the US. And I've seen African culture, people from Africa, talk about their issues with family back home and their expectations and things like that. And you know, in Latin culture, women, they feel this obligation um to elevate together. If one person takes a step to the next level, it has to be in unison with the whole family. That's how they kind of play the things, and I think families holding each other, they're holding each other back because now when you break up with that woman, let's use Latinos for example, when you break up or Asian, when you break up with that woman, and now she's going back to living under a tin roof. Now she's going back to um not having money to travel or eat at the restaurants. You know what I mean? She's going back to that life. And I'm looking at the situation like, damn, why would a family be okay with that? You know, it's like it's like if my sister leaves the nest and has a good life, but because she's worried about mom, which she doesn't have to, she's gonna end up going back home you know, just because uh she doesn't want to feel guilty about living a good life. My mom would say, "Girl, what you doing? What you doing coming back home? You need to go back with that man and enjoy life. Don't worry about me." That's what my mom was. That's what my mom would say. Don't worry about me. And I think it's selfish on foreign families to not have that mindset to say, don't worry about me. I think it's selfish. I don't really think that's being family oriented to to have to worry about people, you know. So let me read some of these comments real quick. See if I got a perspective. Salute Ty. He says social media is changing these foreign women. Soon there will be no difference between them and the woman from the States. And honestly, us being so damn thirsty is part of the problem. Dave said Latin America does have a lot of narcissist women. When people say they are sweet and lovely, I roll my eyes and can tell they haven't been around them a lot. That's facts. Salute Drew. Big Mike said I've been married. I've been to married Chilean wife for a couple of years, and her family never asked me for anything. That's good. That's good. You know, it's rare. It's rare for guys you know, especially going to some of these countries. It's rare for guys to meet a woman coming from a a very affluent family. Affluent in the sense of that she can enjoy the lifestyle that you give to her without her feeling like her family is missing out, you know, to that sense. So yeah, I want y'all opinion, man. Like, if it's selfish for foreign cultures to want their to want that woman to worry about them, if it's selfish, and like I said earlier, in American culture, most parents will say, don't worry about me, don't worry about us. We gonna be all right, you know, because in America we've been doing this we've been doing this a long time. What I mean long time as far as having money, we've been having money compared to these other countries for longer. Some of these cultures existed longer. You know, United States culture is relatively young to a lot of other cultures, but as far as having money and wealth, we've been doing this longer. So we understand that at some point, once you obtain more wealth, have access to the middle class, have access to money where you can be independent, whether it was due to government assistance, access to credit, loans, things like that. You know, we have tools in this wealthy society to have some sense of independence. And we not selfish for no damn reason. And I had to think about it. It's like, okay, why is American culture, perceived as selfish? People don't have this selfish mentality for no reason. It came from somewhere. And over time, over decades, people realize that when you finally make it somewhere, you got crabs that's pulling you down. And it could have been family back. It could have been family back. I know it was family back in the day. People you grew up with. Um, and at some point, people realized was like, man, I done lost everything I had or potentially could have had because I was trying to appease my peers or trying to appease my family. And then at some point, American culture said, we gotta be a little bit selfish if we want to have a good life. We have to be a little bit selfish. Every society, no society is immune from that progression. We have to be selfish to have a good life, or else people will pull you down. And so, what a lot of Latin, what a lot of you know, what I see in Latin cultures, and pretty much most foreign cultures that have weak economies, what I see is that a lot of women miss out on having a better life because they haven't got to that point where they don't really realize that family is holding them back. They don't realize it yet until it's too late. You know, um, and a lot of times too, it's just like with women with dating. It's like the girl, the girl code. They'll keep a girl single, and then as soon as the leader of the pack get a man, she gonna break the girl code as soon as she get a man, and then they're gonna be looking stupid like, oh, we done made all these sacrifices, and now she done flipped the script. So you have to be selfish because everybody is gonna be selfish when it comes to something at the end of the day. What's good? What's good, Sin City? He said, I have a request. Why do you keep doing these lives on black screen? Get your ass on camera. The morning, yeah, when I do morning rants, man, sometimes I'm just like getting out the bed. So it be just random. So I don't even be ready to like cam up. And sometimes it's just easier to it's easier to talk shit too when I'm not cammed up. You know what I mean? I try to be a little bit more PC when I'm cammed up. But salute to Sin City. Ty said their culture is family oriented to a fault. That's a good point. Also, he said also I think Latinos at times lack common sense. Yeah, man, I agree, man. But yeah, you that is a good point. You said the culture is family oriented to a fault. He said no excuse. Buck Trout said no excuse. Be waking up with rants. Get you some coffee first. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. My studio, man, is almost well, it's 50% point, man. It's been slow getting it up because of money, but yeah, man. I want to have I got a professional layout for me to do these things, but yeah, man. Talk to have these conversations with the foreign chicas, man. They may not understand or catch on, but it's good to have these conversations because I think the most attractive, not physically, the most attractive foreign woman to me, whatever, whenever I do get into something serious again, what's going to be attractive to me is her willingness to be to be selfish when it comes her willingness to be selfish when it comes to her having a good life and not feeling guilty about it. Um, I would love a foreign woman, because American women already do this. I would love a foreign woman that believes in putting her man or future husband first and family secondary. Once we straight, yeah, you can look out for family and stuff like that. But a lot of women don't understand, or foreign women don't understand that um making sure y'all good in a relationship. You know, the goals y'all set as a couple, family, um, and things like that. Like even in my personal family, like one of my siblings, like they was pretty much they got married and they pretty much was distant from the family. The kids. We didn't see the kids as much. Um, it wasn't a lot of communication, and a lot of times we was like, man, so and so done. They don't act funny since they got married. Like they be acting like, but then after a while, I had to realize, like, I mean, their kids are doing great. In school, going, going to college. They have all their ducks in a row, and now they're coming around family more because they have to focus on their marriage. They have to focus on their marriage, and they felt like the best way to do that was from them to sort of distance themselves from family while they work on themselves. And now they come around, the relationships don't change. That's one thing I noticed about at least my family, and or even close friends, even people you grew up with. The relationships don't change. If I see a cousin, a brother, or whatever, and we ain't talked, let's just say for whatever reason, we ain't talked in a long time. Um, but when we get around each other, it's all love. Like there's no love lost. The relationship is still there. And so I think that, foreign cultures, need to get to the point where they realize, like, your family is always gonna be your family at the end of the day. And I know some people can agree with me on that. They always gonna be there. So an attractive quality a woman is gonna have to have, she's gonna have to have a strong passion to want her own family, and focus on her family, and get to the point where the family is at a good place. Then you can, start to either to help out or be more inclusive with family. At the end of the day, let's see. Buck said, "I feel you, no excuse. They want you to save their family members as well. If the situation is the solution to this, marrying a chick from upper class family, I mean, I think that is ultimately the best case scenario. It's still not a concept in the travel space to kind of push that narrative, because a lot of guys aren't doing it, and so there's not a lot of data. There's not a lot of qualitative data to, like, to say that. And then also, how likely is it to find that type of woman going to these traveling to, what I would say, weaker economy countries or weaker economies. Um, and she might those type of women might end up being with men from their own culture anyway. But yeah, that's definitely a good question. Women from upper class. I haven't, you know, I haven't seen it too much from the Latin countries. Definitely haven't seen it in from Asian cultures. Um, but yeah, that's a good question. But you want a woman, man, whether it's, marriage, having children, a woman You want a woman that wants her own family and wants to be selfish when it comes to that. You know, you want a woman that wants to put her relationship or her husband first. And I haven't, with these foreign relationships for the most part, um, especially in Latin America, I never had a sense of feeling that um, I was first or I was above or even equal to the family. You know, which is crazy, which is crazy. You know, so yeah, it's something to think about, man. I don't. I want to do this rant because I think we put a lot of. I think we give these cultures too much credit for what we call being more family oriented, and I want to just kind of put out there that, like Ty said, sometimes it's to a fault. Sometimes it could be a sense of selfishness too. Um, and let me know what y'all think, man. Let's see. Dark Rona said might have to date European might be the solution. Yeah, I mean it might be the solution. I would say culturally, I think European women would be more culturally aligned with Americans when it comes to family dynamics for sure. You know, I've never heard guys dating European women and talking about either having to support a family or any decision a woman makes, she has to consider her family. So, in that aspect, you know, there might be more peace of mind. I mean, there's probably more peace. There's definitely more peace of mind and other things too, attitudes and you know aggressiveness. You know what I mean? So there, I can see that. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, Europe is in Passport Bros, and this era Passport Bros 2.0. So um, I'm curious to see what Europe is going to bring in these next 8 to 9 years. You know, very curious on that, man. But yeah, man, I don't really have anything else to add for that, man. Our foreign cultures really more selfish than family oriented. That was the question on the floor. But it's your boy No Excuse of the Passport Bros podcast.